Welcome, everyone. Today we have a very special guest. I'm Ben Ceccarelli, the Chief Brand Officer at StemWave. Our guest today is Dr. Travis Tillman, who has a clinic in Freeport, Florida. And Travis is someone who I think is like the perfect idea of what like a StemWave provider is because he's super passionate about getting people healed and kind of thinking outside the box and getting them back to living the type of life that they know they want to live. So I just want to welcome you, Dr. Travis Tillman. Welcome to this Q&A with me.
Thank you. Absolutely glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to sit down and chat.
So give people an idea of kind of like your background, if you could, where you started, where you came from, and kind of what drove you to have your clinic.
Sure. So I graduated about 12 years ago and I moved to the Southeast. My first job was working at a multidisciplinary practice with, physical therapy. We had a medical doctor for pain management. We did chiropractic, massage therapy, and all was well and good. But at the time, my wife wanted to move to the beach. So we moved down to Florida and started practicing in a few different places. Ended up working my way over to Tallahassee for a little bit and then came back to Freeport, which is where I am now. And I actually worked for the Air Force as a contractor and got to experience life as a military contractor, which was awesome. Then I started working for another clinic and just got to the point where I wanted to kind of do my own thing and be closer to home, be closer to my family, and be able to just bring what my philosophy was of chiropractic and true healing to people in my community, but also into just the whole panhandle of Florida. So opened this up, and it's only been, let's see, in May it'll be 1 year that we've been open, and now we're this is the second month now. We've topped over 600 visits per month on average now.
Wow, it's amazing. So you mentioned your kind of theory on treating and stuff. What is that?
So our foundation is chiropractic first, but we also realize that with everything comes limitations. So at a previous clinic, I had the opportunity to work with another kind of shockwave device, and I saw results with it, but there was something about it that just it didn't make me want to pull the trigger on getting that specific unit for my office here. So I did a little bit of research and because I still wanted to bring about true healing. So all my patients know I don't do anything that's like a fluff and buff kind of service here. I do things that are only going to bring healing. Like I can put them on and there's nothing wrong with this. I can put them on a roller table. I can do all this stuff for them, but that's not what's really getting their body healed. So my goal is to make sure that whatever I invest into this practice is things that are going to help heal their body in any way, shape, or form that I can. And in a small town, we don't have a lot of resources here. So when it came to shockwave treatments, I knew I wanted something. And so whenever I stumbled across StemWave on my Facebook, that pushed me to set up like a discovery call and get to learn a lot more about it. And then kind of really dive into more as to what it is, how it works, what the differences were. That was always important to me. And at that point, that's whenever I was like, this is going to bring true healing to my patients, that I don't have to say, hey, drive 20 minutes to go see this ortho, go drive 20 minutes for this, go drive an hour to go see this provider. I can just do that right here in my own office. And it's been awesome ever since.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that idea of like true healing, do just focusing on the things that are going to get your patients better because at the end of the day, and I know that about you, that you really are focused on and you're passionate about getting people better. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone watching, if you have any questions, as I'm talking to Dr. Tillman, feel free to put them in the chat and then we'll address them towards the end of this Q&A when we do our answering questions section. So prior to kind of discovering, these newer technologies, what, give people an idea of kind of like what types of things were you seeing musculoskeletal with your patients coming in, and what was your kind of traditional way of treating?
Yeah. So, I mean, if somebody came in with like a hot shoulder, something where they're complaining of, I got a bursitis, an impingement, a tendonitis, maybe even like a partial tear, I'd give them some exercises to do. We would adjust it, with a chiropractic adjustment if clinically indicated to do so. Um, and like I said, outside of exercises, in past clinics, we had used, like cold laser therapy. I can't always say that the owner did the correct version of laser therapy for that, We were not. It was kind of weird, but we weren't in control of that. So, but it was just something that I didn't. I was kind of limited with what I could do. Outside of giving them some rehab. I actually, for some people, I had them stand on, like, if it was like a knee, I would have them stand on a vibration plate of sorts, just to kind of work on the stabilizing muscles, work on rehabbing those. I'd send them an at-home program, and then just kind of monitor. I would use an arthrostim on a lot of extremity issues, just if it was like for range of motion or something. But if it was something like partial tears, I was like, good luck. I couldn't really do a whole lot for them.
Yeah, okay. That's a kind of like a good segue into my next question was like what types of things would come through your door that you'd either have to refer out or you just said like this is kind of the limit of what I can provide.
Yeah, I mean, people with extreme knee pains, people with plantar fasciitis, that, or I would have to spend a ton of time with them. Hey, let's do some scraping on your foot. Let me sit here for 10 minutes and do some scraping. I don't have that manpower. In my office, it's me and my office manager, and that's it. So for being a high volume practice, I wasn't able to really do a whole lot for them. But if they're coming in with even bursitis, I'm like, well, let's start doing some stretches. And basically, it was just at home prescription stuff that I could do. And those were kind of the common things. And you'd see the occasional tennis elbow, you'd see a frozen shoulder here or there, but again, very limited. You get the internal hip pains, but even like disc issues, like disc issues were huge. And that was something that I didn't necessarily have to refer out, but if somebody had a disc issue, we would just adjust. Now we have some decompression here with some hill flex tables, but otherwise, that was pretty much it. But those were pretty much the most common things that we would see coming in.
I think it's good that you mentioned it's just you and your office manager. I think, maybe people have this idea that, StemWave providers have these crazy facilities and all of this staff. I think a lot of times it's kind of what you're describing that, you have. It's smaller providers that have one or two people working in there. And like you said, there's a limit to the manpower that you have to see these types of patients. So you kind of touched on it earlier. You kind of got a taste of another device somewhere else.
Yeah,
What was it about StemWave when you said you were on Facebook? Now, let me ask you
yeah.
this, because I find this fascinating. What time of day were you on Facebook that you saw our ad?
I think it was at night. I think I was strolling around at night, and I just clicked the learn more button,
Yeah.
and that set off the whole cascade of events. And then Noah reached out to me, and we kind of just went from there.
I think I asked that only because as I talk to our providers and work with them, and I hear their story about when they found our ad, it's always like I was laying in bed at 2 a.m. or I was laying in bed at 3 a.m. and that was like that makes sense. I mean, you're all working throughout the day, and especially like a clinic like yours where you have a bunch of patients and it's just you. There's no time to be doing that kind of stuff, so it's really like during those late night hours, and I guess it works in our favor
Yeah.
where you're just kind of doing that before bed scrolling and we pop up. So that's great. So you see our ad. What was it about what you saw with our device, even just like on the ad side, before you even started talking to our sales rep Noah? What was it that you saw that kind of made you interested more so than what you had seen with another device somewhere else?
Yeah. So I like the fact that I wanted to learn the difference more between unfocused and focused, but also mainly just learn the differences between those two devices. I had known about the other one, but wasn't sure. I'd never heard of StemWave at this time. So I was like, let me just look into this and just kind of see what are the differences, which one kind of gives me a better feel. I took some time to research on my own even afterwards. And it was about 3 a.m. whenever I made the final decision one night. I was doing some research. I couldn't sleep, and I was like, something's got to show me that STEM waves what I want to do. That this is the right decision to make. And I found a Reddit article of all things, of somebody giving a personal testimony. It wasn't a doctor. It wasn't somebody who's in an office who's had it done. It was a random Reddit article of somebody who took the time and effort to go put a review of STEM wave on there, and it was somebody with MS actually, and how it was an MS forum, and they said this has been the best thing that I've ever done for my MS. My pain levels are lower. They said it is a game changer. The tension in my body is so much better. Nothing else has worked besides STEM wave, and all these people that had MS were on there saying thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to go find a provider ASAP for this. And I was like, man, like this is what I wanted to read, is a personal testimony, somebody who wasn't asked to do it, somebody who just went out and just put it out there for their other peers to go on there and read about. But really, oddly enough, I do like your colors too. So whenever I saw that, like teal is one of my colors here. So I was like, all right, so they already got my attention just by the colors of it. And so then on top of that, just kind of learning a little bit more about the technology, and then getting educated with Noah and having like a Q&A with him. And then the rest of the team that kind of follows in line, they were able to answer all my questions. And I loved that kind of white glove service in a way, where it was all these nice handoffs to people, and they all took the time to talk with me, meet with me. Like all that stuff combined really put me over the edge with choosing StemWave over anything else.
That's all. Well, I almost now want to go find that Reddit forum and give that person a handshake, for helping
Right?
helping promote our product. So with the sales process, right? You're on the phone with Noah. Give people an idea about from what I know, like it's very much like this. We're kind of just like feeling out, trying to get an understanding of your clinic from your end of it.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
So it was just real informative. So he got a PowerPoint presentation. He shared his screen with me. We went through each slide. He's always asking me if I have any questions, just to let him know throughout the whole process, or I'd write some down, and then we could kind of chat at the end. But that right there was just awesome to see, because I was taking pictures of some of the slides. That way I could revisit them after the fact and kind of go through the differences between one and the other. Then it also taught me how to explain some of the differences to people as well, by having those slides available. But it was just a conversation. Again, it was a little less whenever he was teaching me, but I needed to be taught about it. So that was very informative for me.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to know, especially if there's anybody watching this that's, thinking about maybe, bringing StemWave into their clinic. When you have a call with our sales team, it's not like some high pressure thing. It is a conversation. We want to make sure that StemWave is right for you. We actually don't work with everybody, and that's a big part of the first stages of our sales call, is to find out if your clinic is a clinic that would be right for StemWave. And so it really is more of like a exploratory conversation to find out about you, what your intentions are, how you like to treat your patients, what kind of patients you're seeing and what they're bringing through the door with their injuries, and if StemWave would actually work. After you had that introductory call with Noah, give everybody an idea of like what the next stages were like for you.
So I think if I remember right, so then I met with Sydney. Sydney got on. We kind of chatted a little bit, talked about like what the next steps were. I did tell him I had to email Noah first though, and just tell him, hey, all right, I've decided I want to go ahead and do this. Like, let's go ahead and press forward. Sydney kept me posted on the next few steps of what to expect. She tracked my machine being delivered here. Then they did a bunch of follow up. We did a follow up calls as well, just to make sure everything was going okay. They were always available, even over text message, which was awesome, because as a business owner, I don't have a lot of time to sit here and just jump on a phone call and wait. I mean, anytime I've called, even somebody's answered the phone immediately. Or if I'm like, hey, we need to set up a Zoom call, we set up a Zoom call ASAP. So those were always really nice. In fact, I was so impressed with the level of customer service, because they were explaining to me that on the inside of the device, there's like a little knob that can kind of sometimes get turned a little bit, and that changes how the StemWave machine operated. So we noticed that there was a difference in the shock waves being delivered. So I contacted them. They said, we're going to swap out your device ASAP. They overnighted me a new device to start using in my clinic the next day. It was white glove delivered. They wheeled it in, got it in there, took my old device, put it in the packaging, sent it back. They corrected it, brought it back. Something still wasn't right. They did it all over again. They took it right back, and now it's working beautifully. But like that level of customer service, to sit there and drop ship overnight something to me, was amazing. And that was just during my trial. And then because of that, they gave me an extra 30 days to kind of try it out. They're like, hey, like we want to give it a fair chance. Like, that's not on you. So we got it for another 30 days, and then it was already a no-brainer, but it was nice that they even just offered that to me. So the next steps were smooth, easy, great customer service. I was pretty impressed, because that's probably one of the most important things to me overall, is how do
That's
you take care of me after the fact?
Yeah,
you know
that's fantastic to hear. I think it's a great point to make is, we do pride ourselves on our customer service, try to make ourselves available, for our providers whenever they need help. And like I said, sometimes things happen. Sometimes things happen in the shipping process where
Yep.
something gets a little, messed up, but we want to make sure you guys are always able to treat. So we will do whatever is necessary to get that device to you. You mentioned the trial in 30 days. For people that don't know, if you're interested in StemWave, we will place the device in your clinic for 60 days, zero cost. And if it doesn't work for whatever reason, which we have a 98% success rate, so we're pretty sure it's going to work. But if it doesn't work, you don't have to pay. You send it, we'll take it right back, just like Dr. Tillman saying, we'll send the service to come out, we'll put it back in the crate, we'll send it back, and no harm, no foul. But we're pretty confident with our success rate that it'll work for you like it works for all of our providers for the most part, and especially what Dr. Tillman's talking about, the effects he's seen on his patients. So
Mhm.
from then getting the device, I'm sure you went to one of the group trainings.
Yep. We went down to Tampa with Dr. Miller.
Fantastic. If you can talk about what that experience was like, because a lot of people, when they buy a medical device, it doesn't come with any sort of training, maybe like a video online, but this is an actual like in-person group training with other providers. Um, if you could like paint the picture of what that was like for you, maybe what you were expecting versus what it turned out to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, I arrived at the facility in the morning. They did a great job communicating with me beforehand. They even took our lunch orders over email. So that way everything was all kind of just smooth, ready to go. So whenever I arrived at the facility, found where it was going on, had a seat. I got to see there's a whole room of providers there, from nurse practitioners to chiropractors to physical therapists. I don't think we had any orthos in ours, but with those three different fields, it was nice to see how everybody's brain worked and everybody got along, which was awesome. Because sometimes providers butt heads. So, but everybody was super friendly. It was awesome. We got to meet each other, kind of learn about each other, and then we got to learn about StemWave. Dr. Miller did a great job answering our questions that that we had throughout the whole process. She kept it simple as well, which is always important whenever you're going over a lot of information. And then we got to use the device then in the afternoon. So we had lunch and then we got to actually turn the device on and use it. And I was actually the first volunteer to go because for a while, I'm a type 1 diabetic and also a lifetime tennis player. And I had developed frozen shoulder in my right shoulder. And so I was not able to, this was basically all that I could do. And then since StemWave, I'm
Wow.
now to here. And what's the worst part about the story is, so then I started developing my left shoulder, and my shoulder has never gotten below here. It's always been up here. It's still not quite there, but I just started the protocols on this one as well. But going back, the getting to experience it was completely different because she she actually was getting ready to turn on and she goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "I've got a little PTSD from another machine that I have had shockwave treatment on before. And whenever they did it, it hurt and it hurt bad. Because I don't feel like, from my recollection of learning about that device, one, they didn't do any training. Two, there wasn't any protocols in place to follow. And they actually encouraged like higher levels of pain. As much as you can handle, great. And so I remember jokingly some of the staff outside was hanging outside the office with Kleenexes because I was in so much pain having it done. So I was sitting here like this as she was getting ready to do it. And then she started to do it. And I was like, she just slowly felt my muscle tension just start to go, because I was like, this isn't nearly as bad. Like I barely feel anything, things maybe like a 2, 3, maybe if it was a bad spot, 4 at the most. But that was an awesome experience because that just kind of reassured me this is the right device, because I don't want something that my patients are going to hate. I don't want them to have something that they're not going to look forward to. I want them to come in and be like, I'm ready for my treatment. I get to get better. So being able to do hands-on and then learn with the device, make sure that I'm utilizing it correctly. That was a huge part of it as well, because anytime you get something new, I don't know if I'm doing it right or not. And then post after the fact, I was able to text Dr. Jen if I had a question, and she just would text me back, which was awesome to have. It was one question, and she answered it for me. It was actually two, and she answered both of them for me in a prompt way, and that was awesome to have too. But at the end of the day, we were done, and we just got to go home. It was pretty smooth and easy, and the day flew by.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have fantastic clinical advisors. Dr. Miller is unbelievable at what she does. And we have five now, and they're all spread across the country. So if anybody is curious about StemWave and thinking about doing the group training, but you live like on the West Coast or something, we now have group trainings on the West Coast. We have it on the East Coast. We have them in between. So we can now really cater to everybody no matter where they live. And one of my favorite things about the group training is I've been able to go to a few and kind of watch it happen. We like you're saying, it's very informative. There's like a whole first part where it's going over the data, going over the science behind it. We provide informational booklets and binders that have all the protocols in there, so you can refer back to it, you can take notes. But to see providers get treatment on themselves and that kind of reaction that you said you had, where it was like everything just starts to kind of relax and go, oh wow, that's my favorite part because there's still a little skepticism coming in. But once you feel it on yourself, that all goes away. So I know you said that you kind of relaxed. When the treatment was done on that shoulder, that frozen shoulder,
Yeah.
did you immediately test that range of motion?
Yep. So one thing I couldn't do before is be able to put my hand behind my back. And so after the treatment, I already could. And now to this day, even though my treatment ended 2 months ago, I encourage my patients, I tell them this treatment continues to work even after you're done here. So like for like more weeks, it's still doing the stem cell like recruitment process. And I was standing at my pantry and I just reached behind my back to scratch. And I was like, this is unbelievable. I never thought I'd be able to reach behind my back, little things, but I was able to do it that day. And then slowly over, once I finally got the device, got comfortable with it, started my own treatment program, that's whenever I was able to really see them become like more longer effects. And now my right shoulder, I'm back to playing tennis again, and doing all that stuff. But just that first one we tested before, I couldn't get past like here. And then after the treatment, I was at least be able to reach behind my back overall.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love especially when providers come in with like chronic injuries and then they watch it just go. I mean, even after that first treatment, they'll get a little bit of that range of motion back and they'll go, oh, wow. And then, like you
Yeah.
said, over time, you're like, I have not been able to do this in years. That's fantastic. Cool. So after the group training, you got the device in your clinic. Walk me through, what it was like when you first started treating patients with it. Like, how did people react to it?
Yeah. So a lot of people just didn't know what it was. So, we did the introductory offer for the $49. I already had people signed up before whenever I knew I was going to get the device, I had them ready to go the very next day. So I was already booking their appointments up just from having them as active patients here. So we already had a list of people that were ready to go with their initial visits. And so whenever they came in, they would have it done and they were just like, that's a different feeling. But at the same time, we were seeing increased range of motion, decreased pain, people coming in saying, I was able to sleep on my side for the first time, and I never wake up on my left side. I'm always on my right because I can't because of this over here. I had a chef. He came in with elbow pain, and I remember his mapping session alone. He left with tears rolling down his eyes, and he's a younger guy. And I was like, "Are you okay? Like, did it hurt? Because I told you like nothing over like a 4. We want to keep it lower." And he was like, "My elbow doesn't hurt." He goes, "I haven't felt like this in months and maybe even a year." And I just thought this was going to be the rest of my life. And I'd have to alter how I cook food and prepare food and everything because of the elbow pain. And so things like that were just kind of spreading all over. And then people would start referring their friends and then their friends. And then they'd be like, oh, I've got a group of 5 people that I play pickleball with or golf with, and they're all going to come here now because they're all struggling with the same pains that I was dealing with, and they're seeing my golf game get better, and now they're slacking behind. So it just started to all spread. So like the response overall was crazy. Now there were some people who we explained to them, look, you can be sore for a couple of days afterwards, especially whenever you're first starting this. Like it's okay if you get like a little sore, because everybody's a little bit different. And they would not continue, but they also were just a little bit more on the sensitive side of things, and that was okay. But for the most part, we have probably an 85 to 90% conversion rate with people that do a mapping session, and that blows my mind, because I would have been happy with probably like 50, if half of them came in. But as soon as you do the mapping session, and we do some post testing in here, so we'll do some range of motion, some ortho tests, and then we'll do the mapping, bring them back in here, and then we'll redo it and then go over the program with them. And they're just like, yeah, like, is there a dotted line I need to sign on or what? Because they get to experience such awesome results on just the first one. And I even tell them, like, that's only about 200 to 300 shockwaves. You're not even getting a full treatment with this. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, like that's only about half, maybe a third of a treatment. So
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's like talk is cheap, right? Like
yeah,
you can say all you want about how great this is, but it's really when people feel it for the first time. What were some, if you could just share a couple like memorable reactions from people? I know you mentioned the chef and
yeah.
kind of tearing up. Any others come to mind about that kind of first treatment reaction?
Yeah, we so there's a guy who owns a gym here. He just came in. He was in a skiing accident, and he told me, he goes, "I've worked out every single day of my life for the past 7 years." And he's like a body competition kind of guy. And he's like, "I have not been able to work out for 2 weeks." He goes, "This is the first time in 7 years I haven't worked out, and I've done it literally every 7 days a week for 2 years, or for 7 years, sorry." And so he had fallen whenever he was skiing in Colorado, and so he was complaining of elbow pain. So, and he actually owns another place called the Recovery Room that has things like compression sleeves and a sauna and cryotherapy, all this stuff. And he couldn't get it. He was like, "I was trying everything. I got a massage, nothing." We did one treatment, and he left going, "I don't know if this is like crazy science or what's happening." He goes, "But my elbow again does not hurt at all," which is crazy. My mom, she's one of my favorites. It was the first day, so she was walking with a very bad limp in her foot, and she had foot surgery, completely failed, didn't do any good for her, actually made her worse. So I was like, "Mom, this was actually part of the reason I selfishly purchased StemWave as well. Was not only for me, but also for my family members." So she was able to walk out of here without a limp at all. And post StemWave protocol, she was running a parade here, and she texted me the next day and she goes, "I just walked 28,000 steps yesterday with no pain in my foot today, and I'm headed to Universal Studios today to go do Universal for 3 days." And to this day, she still has no limp in her foot for all of that.
Wow. That's amazing. That's almost
Yeah.
like the new version of back in the day when someone would win the Super Bowl, they would say, "I'm going to Disneyland."
Yep.
And now it's like, I have StemWave. I'm going to Universal Studios.
Pretty much. Yep. Exactly.
That's incredible. Wow, those are really great, kind of first treatment stories. We hear a bunch all the time. The favorite my favorite part is when people are in disbelief and they'll almost like they'll like if they have like a hurt shoulder or an elbow, they'll like hit it again just to
Yeah.
make sure like they can't believe it and they're like testing it out. And that's great that you do those kind of testing before and after so they really get to see like, yeah, that difference was made here.
Yeah.
So, one of the aspects of working with StemWave, if people don't know, is we also provide help with marketing the device.
Mhm.
Like you mentioned, you're a busy guy, you're seeing patients all day, doesn't really leave a whole lot of room for figuring out how to market it. Can you give a little bit of a insight into how it's been working with our team on the marketing side?
Yeah. So, it's been hit or miss with the marketing, but we've kind of got a good kind of like ebb and flow, because it's not all about the Facebook ads. In my mind, when I first started, I was actually complaining. I was like, the Facebook ads aren't getting me. I'm not getting anything off the Facebook ads. But it's about planting that seed. We have this device here. And then people eventually have been calling in, "Hey, I saw something a while ago about some StemWave thing that you have there." So I know that they're getting the words out there, but more importantly, they provide me with in-office materials to help engage people to do that initial mapping session on something like the little boards with like little discount coupons and
The
stuff on
offer
there.
board. Yeah.
Yes, those things, when I do those, like I have one up right now that we did for Valentine's Day. I'm like, we're just gonna finish it out because it does so well. That's usually when people are like, "I'll take a coupon, give me a coupon." It's like an Oprah show. Like everybody all of a sudden is signing up for StemWave whenever we do that. And the cool thing too is they give you the template to go in there and edit it. So it comes with like 20% off for 8 treatments. We just change it to 10. We just like, "Hey, we're gonna do a 10 treatment plan. It's the cost of 8." Like you get two free treatments, and people love free things. So we're like, we're just gonna do 10 treatments to get you 2 extra ones. And people will start signing up for that thing like crazy. Which is that part has been very helpful. And then we'll also, I'll just text Austin, one of the marketing guys, "Hey, can we stop the ads for a little bit?" Just to kind of, because it becomes oversaturated. So we stop them. We stop them for a few days, and then I'll text him again, "Hey, can you start the ads again?" And he'll text me back, "Ads are running again." And then sure enough, we just started them yesterday. Within probably an hour, I think somebody had already signed up for their initial visit next week for a StemWave. They had called in. So we just kind of, that's how we've been handling it. Now, granted, we live in a small town. So in a small town, it can saturate the market if you just continue to run these ads. So that's why we kind of took a little bit different approach. We also don't have a population of like 100,000 people. We do in the general area. But for being in a small town, it spread like wildfire because people have just seen our ads out there and then start calling in about it. And that's been probably the most helpful thing. And that's why I just keep running it for a few days and then stop running it for a few days and then stopping it.
I love that the ticket board worked, the off-road ticket
Yes.
board worked so well for you. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a whole department in the company that kind of comes up with these ideas to how we can create more buzz for our providers in office. That was an idea that was floated last year, and we've got ticket boards, just regular ones. We got ones that are holiday themed, like you said, your Valentine's Day one. So we really do promote that. For people that don't know, we provide marketing materials like Dr. Tillman's
Yes.
talking about, like that, like the roll-up banner. We've
Yep.
got trifold brochures. We got all different things just to help. We want to make sure that our providers have support in their marketing, that they're getting the word out, they're getting people coming through the door, word of mouth. So yeah, we really do make that big effort to provide all that kind of stuff. And along with that side of the company, right, we talked about the sales call, the shipping the device, everyone gets a dedicated client success manager, right? You had Sydney that works with you through the whole process, kind of holds your hand through it and is available for any questions you have. Now we're talking about help with the marketing side. Another side of the company is we have this kind of we use a platform called School, which is an online community. It's all the providers that are using StemWave. There's live coaching calls. Have you been kind of involved in that online community and gone to the coaching calls?
Yeah, I've done a lot of work with reading a lot of the posts on School and especially searching them. Like if there's somebody with a condition, like I had a first neuropathy consult the other day, and he said, "Have you had any success with this with neuropathy?" And I said, "I have not had one person in here yet with it, so I'm not going to tell you yes, I have." I was like, "But I know other providers have that I've read about on School because people will go share their success stories, which is always awesome to hear. And then some people even go ask them questions like, what protocols were you using? Or people, if they're struggling with something, will ask questions. Or if you have somebody present with a condition, has anybody had any success? And you have not just a resource of a company, but a resource of a family of StemWave providers that can all reach out to help you back. And that's what has been awesome for me is if I see something, I can go search on there for something. The marketing materials they have available there for you, and it's all in one place, which is really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to make is when you become a StemWave provider, it's not just something where you get the device and you never hear from us again, which I know is the case with a lot of other products. You get, like I said, dedicated client success manager. You have easy access when you need help with your device if something goes wrong. But then more importantly, what we're talking about, you're part of this online community with, now it's 600 plus providers that are all discussing their wins, things they've discovered, they've realized, tricks. And then we also have these weekly coaching calls with our clinical advisors that get on with anybody who can be available, much like this, and have your questions answered. So we really are building like this family of providers that all get to share, and it's really great to watch and really great for somebody who's just coming in as a new provider to be able to feel that type of support.
I will say too that the classroom is very helpful on that as well when you first get your device because it has all the training videos on there as well, which is really helpful. There are training videos on how to map every single body part out there. You can go and watch all of those, and that all is very helpful as well because I wanted to make sure that we were doing it, and I trained somebody else how to do all the stem wave treatments, the mapping sessions, all of that. And I just had her sit down and just watch all those videos. So it was great for training other people. That way, as the doctor, I do their consult, their exam, and then she comes back and she's my office manager slash StemWave tech. She does everything StemWave. I handle like if there's any questions, if they have any concerns. I handle like their physical therapy. At the end, we incorporate physical therapy, but that classroom was huge because it was able to not only I could teach her, but she was able just to watch those in her free time and learn even more.
That's fantastic. And I think it's important for people to know that we get it. We understand if you're a provider who has been doing, kind of the same thing for many, many years, and now you're finally ready to branch out and get this new technology, there's like a learning curve, right? It might be a little bit scary thinking like, I don't know if this is going to be right. I don't think I'm going to be able to understand how to use this right. I'm worried that I might be using it wrong. We have so much support for you, so many materials. Like I said, the group training, all of the things that Dr. Tillman just mentioned about how our videos are available on our platform. There's so much support that we really make it as easy as possible in every facet of the STEMWave journey to make
Mhm.
sure that you're using the device properly, you're getting the results that all the other providers, are kind of bragging about on the message boards in the wins column. So we really are here for you. And we put ourselves in your shoes and we understand that it could be a little daunting if maybe you've been doing something like manual therapy for 20 years and this is like so far out there because it's like, what is this device? But we make it as easy as possible in every aspect. So I think now is a good time to kind of transition. And I know some people have been putting some questions in the chat. If anybody else has any other questions in the chat, put it in the chat for Dr. Tillman and we'll get to it. So the first question, Dr. Tillman, was, would this be good for massage therapists to use?
Massage therapists cannot purchase those. It has to be done by a provider. But I mean, if you can train, if they work in your office and you train them, my office manager here is she's just my office manager. She has worked in a chiropractic office before, so she had some good knowledge of the human body. I think that they'd be a great person to have as a technician to use the device because they're going to have an idea of like the anatomy. So whenever I go explain, like go over the spine of the scapula, go around the posterior middle and anterior deltoid, let's go down the brachialis, down the bicep. They don't have to go, what is that? That always helps. But in regards to purchasing, from my knowledge, massage therapists can't purchase the device if that's what the question was.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. There does have to be a medical professional that is purchasing the device in some sort of clinic. But and other people can be trained in that clinic to how to use the device, but there always needs to be someone who's running the clinic that is in the medical profession.
Yeah.
You got a shout out from Johnny Clark on our team. Let's go, Dr. Tillman.
Hey, right down the road. He's not too far.
Yep. Someone missed the first couple minutes. Want to know what kind of clinic you have? Is a chiropractic clinic.
Yes, I'm a
Um,
chiropractic office.
And then, okay, here's one more technical. Is the device going at a depth that is effective if you're only at a 3 or 4 pain level? So you're mentioning,
Yeah,
you don't want somebody to be like wincing with pain. This
right.
person is concerned with, is it going deep enough? Maybe you can
All
speak to
right.
that.
So here's a cool story for you. So StemWave does a great job of always updating their protocols. So we just got new protocols sent out on the school platform. So I took a picture of those, have them on my phone, and now I have these mental flow charts that I'm following on my phone in my own head to make sure that now I'm kind of changing what some of my recommendations were initially with things. So initially we were told somewhere around like a 6 at the absolute most, nothing over that. And now it's like a 3 to a 4. So I actually did a test on my own self. And when I let the pain level get up to a 6, my shoulder up here is absolutely miserable. It bothers me. I just did it yesterday and I kept it at like a 2 or a 3 and I slept on my left side. Great, no pain. Range of motion was better today. Pain levels are lower. If it gets too high, it can actually cause cellular damage to happen. So we don't want that. So usually the 3 to 4, I tell people 4 at the most. And if you don't feel it, that's okay too. It does not mean that it's not working because we don't want more damage to happen to an area that most likely has some damage in there. But they like on our schooling on the protocols, it says on the bottom 3 to 4 max, 3 to 4 max, 3 to 4 max on every single thing. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, we get these little booklets here like this, and they'll give you these sheets in the back and it goes over all of that information here and we'll tell you all of that on where they want the pain levels to be and all that. So that's what I have now updated on my phone with what those new protocols are. And then I post those signs in the StemWave room to make sure patients are reminded when they sit there, they're looking at the sign that says nothing over a 4 at all. And the depth is perfectly fine because they also give you what level of intensity it's at too. So this thing goes up to level 25, right? So they give you like kind of a base level. So start at like a level 10 for, like a hand, and then like a 13 for like a shoulder or something, right? So those are all going to be given to you. And then we have specific instructions, like you can go up a couple of levels until they get to like a 2 or a 3. Once they get there, that's going to be their level. We also educate them that each time they come in, it may be a different level because we have electrodes, we have saline solution, we have applicator heads, all that need maintenance or that need to be replaced. So if I put a fresh electrode, fresh saline in there, this is where documentation comes in. It's going to be a little bit stronger for them. So I tell them we may have to come down a couple levels. That's okay. And if it's a little bit more older, we may have to go up a couple levels. But either way, we don't stress the level. We stress the level of pain. Nothing over a 4.
That's a great point to make. Yeah, and I think even what you were just talking about with the consumables, the electrode and stuff, um, it may sound like, oh, we have to replace all. It's pretty easy to replace all this stuff. It's
Yeah.
just dropping it in. The saline solution is just salt and iodized salt and water and distilled water. Pretty easy to make. We have all of those instructions in video form and written form at the
Yep.
group training. Everybody gets to try it and do it. It's really simple to do. Um, Next question was, how was your marketing experience to get the 600 visits per month? What specific marketing, not included the
Yeah.
StemWave marketing, do you do? Is it Facebook ads, reviews?
Yeah. So with the 600 visits, that's chiropractic plus StemWave. I want to be clear on that. However, our StemWave right now, this is kind of where we're at now for our busy days, is at about, we get up to 20 StemWave appointments on our busy days, which is awesome. I didn't ever think that we'd ever get there, but now my office manager doesn't even sit up front and answer phones anymore. She's always just bringing patients back to the StemWave room on those days. Um, but all we did was utilize the Facebook marketing. The most important thing is internal marketing. And then we give out, we have cards up at the front. We take this sign. If we ever do an event, this sign sits at the front door normally. So as you walk out the front door, this is right there. So it's in their face. We have these little stand up little things. So one's at the checkout counter, one's where they're doing some exercises. So they're always getting this internal kind of feedback into their brain about StemWave. I even have a sign that says "Ask about StemWave today" that I had done some letters on. Um, and then I post about it in our community. We have a Facebook, it's called a community bulletin, and I'll go on there and do a post, or I actually will share our Facebook ad that we have. I just shared that because they just started again. So I go share that into the community bulletin, and that way it just kind of gets that exposure out there. And then I encourage my patients here. Like one guy, he started referring people in like crazy. I didn't promise him this, but I went up to him at the end and I was like, hey, man, you've referred so many people here. Your first 2 maintenance sessions after you're done, I'm just going to do them for you. I'm not going to charge you for them. He didn't know that going into it, but he referred like 4 or 5 people after his first treatment here. And now they're like a group of buddies who all come in for their StemWave treatments together. But the internal marketing was huge. Those little boards, the little offer boards, huge, because that gets more people who are going to refer more people. And now we, around the holidays, we gave out these little cards that gave a free StemWave treatment. So that was their initial appointment where they could do their consult, their exam, their mapping session, and then get their customized plan all at no charge, because StemWave sells itself. You don't have to do a whole lot. Once they do the mapping session, it takes 30 minutes of my time. And it's the cool part for me is getting to see their range of motion improve. They actually get true healing. They get to avoid surgeries, and or if they've already had it, they get to recover from surgery faster. Um, it's been awesome. I make myself visible in the community. I was standing on the sideline of a football game, and kid sprained his ankle. One of the EMTs came over and got me, brought me out there. I took the kid into my clinic the next morning. It was a Saturday. We met him here. We started StemWave protocol. I reached out to Dr. Jen. She's like, you can do 3 times a week if you need to. That has now turned into other athletes at the school now coming here for StemWave, because I was visible at a football game, and they know where I stand at every game. If they need anything, because there's no athletic trainer, they come and get me. Visibility is huge. Getting the word out there. I belong to a networking group where we meet every Wednesday, and I push StemWave, and I just say, hey, if you know anybody with this condition, I'll say knee pain. If you know anybody with arthritis, I just use a general term. If you know anybody that has had surgery, that's trying to avoid surgery, and they refer people to me as well. But those have been the best things by far for it.
That's so cool. I love that that the sideline story. I mean, you're going to be known as like the wizard who gets these athletes
Yeah,
back on the field really fast. We actually for people that don't know, we do also work with like Division I colleges and pro teams. StemWave was used in the Washington Commanders training room this past season. We actually spoke with their head trainer a couple weeks ago. And he's saying that their athletes are literally coming into the training room now and asking for StemWave by name. So when it comes to athletes, if any of the providers that are watching this right now, if you guys are dealing with like high level athletes or even athletes at the high school level, this is a game changer for them. I mean, we've seen crazy results, even the ones that Dr. Tillman are saying, like getting these kids or athletes back on the field in like record time, that's the most important thing. And safely too. Like we're actually
yeah,
healing injuries here.
yeah.
Um, one of the questions we have here is related to, you talked about you're in a small town. This
Mhm.
person is also in a small town of 3,400 in a county of 15,000, fairly low income. He's a little shy about this, wondering if he can really get patients to pay.
Yeah. So one thing that I did is because StemWave does, again, they do a great job. They give you 8 electrodes to start. I got 2 applicator heads. They give you enough to get started and really get going, which was great for me. So I actually, for my first 6 months, offered plans, and our cost was per treatment. It was at $150. But if they did a payment plan, it marked those all the way down to $90. So I have a sheet that we were given, and it goes over cost, and I edited it a little bit, but it kind of goes through what does the program look like, how many sessions, all of that. And then I go through, look, the cost is $1,500. I was like, but with our prepayment plan, you're going to save $600 right off the top. And that makes it down to 900. Now, if you're doing your offer board 1 month, they get an extra 10 to 20% off of that. Now you're down to like $720. And we allow them to do one payment or two payments. So it'd be two payments of 360. And most people, again, because of the side effects that they experience after the mapping session, the positive side effects, they have no hesitation with it whatsoever. Um, I will. I mean, I'll be open. I had contacted Nick Mick about taking a loan for this. I've only been doing this on my own, mind you. I was without a job for 6 months as I was opening my own office. So we opened up here, and so I contacted them about loaning it. But I did so well in my trial period, I just bought the device straight up. So I didn't have to even pay any interest. I just was able to say, I just wired the money over to StemWave because it paid for itself in a small town where people had no idea about this technology. I have people coming from 40 minutes away now to come here to do this.
Wow, that's a huge testament to the
Yep.
results you're getting. That's amazing. Um, Someone wants to know how big the machine is and the space you need to use it.
Yeah. Um, you don't need a big space. Our right across the hall, the machine sits about this tall. That's about it. So about to my waist level, I'm about 5'11", so I'm not like 7'3" or anything like that. And so it's about waist height. It just plugs into a standard outlet, and we have a kind of like a massage table that flexes up so people can sit up whenever they do it. I have a tall shelf that holds all my StemWave equipment in it, and then we have a mini fridge and a stool all in that office. But it's about half the size of the office that I'm in currently, which is not that large. I think it's like 9 by 8 or something. It's not that big.
And how long do the sessions take typically?
So if you're doing one body part and you're comfortable with the machine, like we're up to doing 3 hertz now. So at 3 hertz, 5 minutes per session. So if they're doing two body parts, 10. Now, if you get back there, sometimes you want to talk to them, see how they're doing, get any updates, get any feedback. So that may take closer to 10 to 15. I know on this thing here, it does say precise 15-minute treatment. So we have one patient who's like, I'm not getting my full 15 minutes here. So we take our time with him. We chat with him a little bit. We make sure that we just do his note in office, talk to him. We only do 2 hertz with him just to make sure we're dragging it out as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, you can do a treatment in 5 minutes. I usually do it before I go home. So like as soon as we're done closing up, I like to get home to my family, but I'll just do a quick 5 minute treatment. I'm out the door.
Yeah,
It's
I think
very
that's a
really quick.
one of the main selling points with StemWave is that you can do these quick 5 to 8 minute treatments so you can see more patients throughout the day. And also if you're somebody who does a lot of manual therapies in the past, it takes a lot of wear and tear off your body. I mean, have
Yep.
you noticed that yourself?
I don't even do it anymore because I have my office manager doing it. But when she's doing it, she just stands, she just does this. Okay, you're done. She just goes around for a few minutes and that's about it. So I mean, it's way easier than me sitting here saying, "All right, pull your shoe off. I want to have your foot in my face now for 15 minutes and do some scraping for forever." Instead, we just stand up, we hold the wand wherever it is that needs to be done, and again, if it's like a knee, we have like a bolster underneath their knees. We got actually got like a wedge. That way, it puts a nice 90-degree bend in to open up that joint space. But it's so easy to do, and you get to be upright. You don't have to sit there and stare with your head down or anything. It's so much better.
Yeah, I know that there were some group trainings that I attended where some of the providers were really excited about StemWave because they've been doing their practice for like 50 years. Older practitioners, and they want to keep on treating patients, but their bodies were just breaking down. I mean, when you're like you
Yeah,
said, hunched over and doing manual therapies day in and day out. It's a lot on their bodies. So the idea that they could do these quick treatments, it's much better for their posture. They're not having to do manual therapies. They're imagining, oh, I have another 20 years in me. I could still
yeah,
treat people for a long time, and which I think is great. I mean, it's like there's so many obvious benefits for StemWave. Something like that is not super obvious, but when you think about it, it's like, yeah, this is benefiting patients, but also benefiting providers and allowing providers to still do what they love and give back to their communities longer than they thought they could.
yep.
And speaking of group training, someone's asking, can you do training before buying the machine? Okay, can you do training before buying a machine? So I will tell you that, yeah, the group trainings that I've been to, and I know this for a fact, we have people that are attending because they just bought a machine, and it hasn't been delivered yet. People are there that just bought a machine and it has been delivered, but they wanted to train first before actually getting into it. And then people that are still on the fence that just come to group training to kind of like get some hands-on experience before they decide if they want it or not. But remember, we do a 60-day put the device in your clinic. So even if you're on the fence, you can absolutely do the 60-day trial, and figure out, go to the group training, figure out if it's something right for you before you have to pay anything. So it's open for any of those options. And then I think one last question that I have for you, before we kind of wrap up here is, we've talked about so many great things, the benefits, how it's been for your practice. If you were going to recommend StemWave to
Mhm.
another, medical professional, what would you say to them about
I would say it's a no-brainer. So just don't do it anywhere near me because I'm just gonna.
it?
No, I would say if you actually truly care and value the true health of your patients and their overall healing, then don't hesitate. Like especially with, I mean, it's risk free for 60 days. I've been trying to get a buddy of mine down in Tampa to do it, and he's slowly starting to kind of lean in that direction. He just needs more staff because of his current setup, the way that he runs his practice. But I try and educate as many people as I can. Like, you need to get this for your office because your patients will heal and you're going to see them make strides, and to see the joy on their face. I mean, something as simple as I can wash my own hair, something as simple as I can now. I had a lady just yesterday, she came in today. She goes, I'm carrying my purse in my left arm. Mind you, when she started, she literally, that's as far as she could move her shoulder. Now she goes, I can wash my own hair. Look at this. And that was after five treatments, failed surgery, all that stuff. So I use testimonials to do a lot of like quote selling, whenever I tell people about it or whenever I educate them about that. But for me, it's a no brainer. If you really care and you want something that's going to be effective, not take up an hour of your time, where patients nowadays want a quick treatment. They don't want to sit in your office for 2 hours. So our patients arrive, they get into there, they get out, and they love that. And so it's in a way that we can see double the amount of people in the same amount of time and get to see them truly heal. Because before I was just limited, everything has limitations. So
I think that's a fantastic point. I want to reiterate, like, we have a great device here. We have a great device that's really effective. That's not why we're here though. We're here as a company because we really want to start changing traditional healthcare. being able to provide a non-invasive solution for everyday people that have these musculoskeletal, injuries, chronic and acute. We really hearing these stories, and I get to hear a lot of them as well, of just everyday things, like you said, being able to hold their purse on one arm, being able to pick up their grandkids. There was one woman we just did, kind of this interview, sit down interview with some patients, and one woman who was a StemWave patient, she couldn't even walk. She couldn't get out of bed. And then after going through a whole treatment protocol with StemWave, her husband just bought her a bike and they bike as a family now, before dinner. And it's like those are the little stories. It's not so much about the pro athlete that, is doing X, Y, and Z. It's about regular people being able to get back to the type of lives that they want to live. And the
Yeah.
fact that we can help make that happen, that's why we're here. That's why StemWave exists. So just to reiterate for everybody, if you're interested in StemWave, if everything that we talked about here with Dr. Tillman sounds like something that you'd want for your clinic, if you have chronic and acute musculoskeletal injuries coming through your door and you're trying to find a non-invasive solution that can really deliver after the first treatment, reduction in pain, increased mobility, if you think StemWave might be right for you, you can go to our website, stemwave.com. I'm putting it in the chat right now. We will place the device in your clinic for 60 days at no upfront cost. And if for whatever reason it's not right for you, you don't think it's working, whatever, you can give it back. We'll take it back. No, no problem. No money exchanged. And we're pretty confident that won't be the case. We talked extensively about this just now with Dr. Tillman about the incredible results that you're getting. And plus, we have StemWave in over 600 clinics in the country. We know what we're doing. We offer so much support to help you along the way. So go ahead. You can go to stemwave.com, click the, book a demo with our team. You'll get on the phone with our sales team. Much like Dr. Tillman was talking about, it's very conversational. It's not high pressure. We find out if StemWave is right for you, and then we hold your hand through the whole process.
Mhm.
So go ahead, check that out. Dr. Tillman, it was so great talking to you today. I'm so glad you guys are doing as well as you are with StemWave and able to treat your patients and see these real results. Really appreciate you hopping on today and giving everybody some insight into how you've been doing with the technology.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care and look forward to hearing in 6 months, a year from now, even more stories of success from you.
That's right. Absolutely.
All
Thank
right,
you.
everyone. Thanks, guys.